What is up, Ardent? You're at Ardent Tribes right now. Dylan, are you excited about Ardent Tribes?
I am so excited about Ardent Tribes.
Yes.
We've been thinking about this all summer long.
Yeah, this is like what is
a long time
this is the new thing that Ardent is going to be doing. We're in a new season. You're probably in a home right now, and so we're going to go over like what this Ardent Tribe, like in the home, what social distancing Ardent is going to look like for the next season.
Yeah, so we actually have someone that's going to help us out with that because clearly the two of us are not qualified to do that. So here we go.
Hey guys, I'm up in the mountains right now fishing. Why don't you come with me? All right, let's go. All right, I guess we'll just go for it, right? So I'm gonna put out my cast. Right, it's a good cast. For the rules tonight, 1, wear a mask at all times. I know I'm not wearing one right now, but you know, out in the wilderness, you can, no civilization for miles. 2, listen to your leaders. Talking about you, Rebecca. Rule number 3, don't be stupid. I think I got something. Fish on hook! Fish on hook! Oh! Nice! I think it's a 50-pounder. Have a good night.
Those were great rules.
They were.
Like, we need rules for the world to go around, right?
Absolutely.
And so, rule number 1, I think we should be wearing masks.
Always wear a mask.
Always wear a mask. Like, even when you're sleeping, if you're eating, you can kind of like do that.
But right back up.
Right back up.
Right back
right? And then
Cover the nose, people. Cover the nose. I see you. I see you.
Yeah. And then the other rule was like, I mean, I like that rule. Just don't be stupid.
That's like the best
That's
rule.
a great rule.
I think there's a lot more people that need to hear that rule.
Yeah, but I think we do need to take these off for you guys to hear us. So hopefully we're not breaking any rules. I think. But yeah. But what is Ardent gonna look like?
Ardent is gonna look like a great time. So Ardent Tribes, we have revamped it. You guys are maybe in a new location. Maybe you're in the same location that you've already been, but it's gonna look a lot different. We're coming to you through video. We're not there with you in your tribes right now, but we're gonna guide you along. Your leaders are there to help you as well. And so this is just gonna be a time of hearing a message and having an awesome time with your friends and really just going deep. Taking time to kind of ask some deep questions that maybe you wouldn't normally just on a day-to-day basis, but to really find out what you believe and hear what your friends believe, because you want to know about your friends as well.
Yep. You're going to be laughing together. You're going to be discussing some good content together, getting into the Bible. You're going to be probably having snacks together. Maybe if your leader's bringing a snack or something. Individually packaged probably, that'd be best. You're also going to be playing some games together, and not just any games. You're going to be having some challenges, okay?
Challenges? Like competition?
Competition.
We love competition.
Competitions with points, with prizes, if you have the most
points.
Prizes are better. Okay? We have some awesome prizes for your group if you guys win the competition, okay? So here's what it's gonna look like. We're calling them Ardent Challenges, all right? So what's gonna be happening every single week, you're gonna get together with your tribe. You're gonna be having some challenges. We're gonna be throwing challenges at you guys. Some of them might be like group costume contests. Some of them might be just playing some kind of like some games. Some of them might be like this thing. where every single tribe is gonna have a Bop It.
It.
If you don't know what Bop It is, you'll talk to your leader.
You haven't lived yet.
Yeah, they know what Bop It is, okay? So this is something where you guys will have to rack up points and record. You have to record yourself, because if you don't record yourself, it didn't happen, all right?
That's true.
So your group will be using this, and it kind of actually tells you the instructions. But if you guys get to a certain amount, all right? So if you guys get to 20, is it levels? Is it
it's like a record or
20
something.
record,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
points
whatever
or
you wanna call
something,
that.
then that's 20 points right there. Now if you get to 50, that's 50 points. Dude, so on, so on. So every single week, you're gonna keep your Bop It around, and then you guys can practice, and you gotta record, and then you can send it in to me, Emma, or Dylan, or Regan.
They're gonna be like pros.
They're gonna be pros.
They're gonna
This
get
is a
so good
fun,
at this.
fun game, right? And so there's gonna be challenges every single week, and your tribe is going to be earning points, all right? And you're gonna be keeping track of your points. So leaders, you need to keep track of your points and be honest, because we're watching you.
Have those receipts.
Yeah, right? And so when we get to the very end of all the challenges, then you guys will be entered into winning a huge prize. So that's if you win.
Huge.
Yeah, and
It's gonna be
seriously,
good.
it's gonna be
really good.
Yeah, big prizes. Okay, big experiences, all that stuff. So another thing that you guys are going to be doing, and this is the last, is getting into small group discussion. Right? We're not really calling them sermons, but we do have some awesome speakers that are going to be coming like all over the world.
Literally all over the world.
Yeah.
Coming to you guys in your homes.
Yes, but today we have Emma, who is actually talking with Mike Tatlock, the senior pastor at Grace Chapel. You guys probably all know him. He's awesome, and he's going to be speaking about Influence Culture, our new series that Emma's going to be talking about more.
Hey guys, I'm Emma, and I am so excited for us to kick off this new series that we are starting called Influencing Culture. Before we jump in, I actually have a quick video that I want you guys to watch, so check it out.
We find ourselves in an unprecedented public health crisis, a rapidly evolving global pandemic.
My building gave me a pump shotgun and a sniper.
We're doing something that's never been done in the history of our country.
Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked him. Can't convince me that it didn't happen. Fed them to tigers, they snacking. What's happening? Carol Baskin.
Whether we like it or not, each and every one of those things is part of our culture today, right? So culture is a lot of different things all mixed together, and that is why we are talking about influencing culture as an Ardent family, because as Jesus followers, we're not just called to live in culture, be on our Instagram all day long or on YouTube or on Fortnite, right? We have to actually, our job is to bring the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God here to earth. And in order for us to actually do that, we have to engage and influence the current culture around us. So before we get started into the nitty-gritty of what that really looks like, I want you to turn to your group and you're gonna ask this question. What does culture mean to you? Maybe you guys said school or a YouTube video or maybe even the latest trend from the Nike store, and each and every one of you guys would be right. There's not really a wrong answer as to what culture is, because for each and every one of us, it's a little different, right? I just turned 26. some of you guys watching are 11. You and I live in different cultures, even though we're friends and we get to be in the same room and in the same youth group as each other. So we each and every one of us lives kind of in our own culture that we're surrounded with. But there are some things, like in that video that we watched, or if you did say school, each and every one of us engages in school in some way, even though right now it's a little different, right? But school is a huge part of culture, and so is social media, so is the music you listen to, the latest TV show on Netflix that you've been into. All of those things make up culture, and so do politics, so do like social justice topics, so do all of these things. And some of them can be very overwhelming, right? I know I get overwhelmed on Instagram by all the posts or the new trendy music that I'm supposed to be into, which I can't, like, I don't even know any of the trendy music right now. I'm a little behind, but all of that is part of what makes culture, and it can be overwhelming, especially as Jesus followers, like I said, where it's our mission, right, to continue Jesus's mission from when he was on earth. His mission was to bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, and that is our mission as well, to not just engage in culture, but actually like influence and shift culture to be more like the culture that God desires for us. And I think there's a lot of different ways that we can engage with culture, right? There's a whole spectrum, and there's not like a right way or a wrong way. They're all different, and wherever you land on that spectrum, you can still influence culture. You don't have to be acting this one way or be on Instagram only this many minutes a day for you to have the opportunity to influence the culture around you. I do have an analogy, and I think it's pretty fun. So we're gonna make a picture in our minds. So I want you guys to picture a lake, and it has like a beach or a shore all around it. We're gonna talk about 3 different animals, and this are 3 different ways that you maybe engage with culture. The first one is a fish. Where does the fish live? In the lake, right? So this fish lives in the lake. Sometimes maybe he gets curious, so he pokes his head up and checks out the shore. The shore is God's culture, the lake is the world's culture. So the fish jumps up, checks out the shore, is like, cool, but I'm gonna stay in this water. The next animal is a cat, and I don't know about like your guys' cats, but all the cats I've ever seen, they would definitely be staying on the shore. And not only are they just gonna stay on the shore, they're actually gonna watch the water in the lake to make sure that they don't get splashed on or get wet in any way. Cats hate the water, from my experience. And then the last animal is a dog. So the dog lives on the shore, right? That is where he eats his lunch, where he plays with his human, where he plays with other, maybe he chases the cat, I don't know. But every once in a while, he loves to go into the lake and play in the water. But then he comes back on shore, right, to dry off, cozy up with his human, and have a good night's sleep. So those are 3 different animals, right? The fish always in the water, which is the culture of the world, right? Always in the water, maybe poking his head out to check out what's happening on land or in God's culture. There's the cat who's always on land and like eagerly watching the water to make sure that nothing happens. And then there's the dog who definitely lives on land, is most comfortable on land, but also loves to engage and play in the water. And each and every one of us, like I said, there's a spectrum, but each and every one of us, I think, can identify a little bit with one of those 3 animals. So that's what I want us to do now, is turn to your group and just discuss which animal are you when it comes to engaging with the world's culture. Are you the fish, the dog, or the cat? Hey Mike, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this call today. We're so excited to hear from you in our kickoff night for our new series, Influencing Culture. And I wanted to ask you to be on here because we all know you have a super unique opportunity as the Blazers chaplain to be around people who just live a super different lifestyle and who, from the outside, appear to live a lot more in current pop culture. So we want to know, what is that like for you?
Well, first, thanks so much, Emma, for interviewing me. It's an awesome opportunity to be able to share a little bit of our world behind the scenes, doing chaplain work with the Blazers. I love that you call it a unique opportunity. It's definitely unique. It's definitely a different lifestyle in the terms of, you know, these guys are rolling with usually a lot of money, a lot of fans, things I don't have. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have fans. So it is a different world. But at the end of the day, one of the things I've discovered too, no matter what, it's how different their lifestyle is from mine. There's interesting things that we have in common. And I really just try to find those things that, even though we have a lot of differences, I try to find the things that we do have in common. You have to choose to either be a friend or a fan, but you can't be both. That doesn't mean you don't cheer them on and say, hey man, great game, that's awesome. But they know really quickly, like, who is just a fan, like who's just trying to get close to them, who wants autographs, who wants to get merch from them, who wants to get a picture and flash it up on their social media. Like they can tell pretty quickly. They're a good judge of character of who's trying to use them to promote themselves or who really is just there to serve them.
Yeah, I love that, just that idea of a fan versus a friend, because I think even in middle and high school, it's really easy to fall into one of those categories. And I just think our opportunity when we can be a friend and call people up, call people into what God is calling them to, right? Like that is such a cool opportunity. I love that you bring up the distinction between those two. So with that being said too, I'm curious, how are some ways, or like what are some opportunities? I know you've had some pretty crazy opportunities to really jump into these guys' lives. What are some ways that you connect with them, or like how do you even, justify or like explain even to yourself how you're able to be in relationship with these guys who, I mean, honestly, to the rest of us, they seem like superheroes because we just can't even fathom their lives.
So Seth reached out to me and he's like, hey, would you, do our premarital, and which is basically like doing sessions with them about how to set themselves up for marriage. And then out of that, of course, they were like, hey, do you want to, could you do our wedding and stuff? So I all those things just happened by a series of events that started from chapels. Well, then here I am. I like caught myself thinking, this was one of the few times I said, God, why am I here? This makes no sense. I'm a middle-aged white dude living in suburbia who doesn't have fans or money, no celebrity connections, none of these things. I mean, so if you look at me and you look at the world I'm hanging out with, and so here I was down in Malibu Beach, LA, and I'm in a private luxury bus with the whole Curry family. And we're going to dinner before the rehearsal and all those things. And I literally sitting there going, why am I here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Other than the fact that God put me there, and the things that I have, they're interested in. And they're interested in knowing more about God. They're interested in knowing what does God's word have to say about life and life hard issues. And so that's what I have found interesting is I may not have a lot in common. Oh, sneakers are another important part. I do like sneakers. I do have a little bit of respect for my sneaker game. So that helps a little bit. Jesus and sneakers gets me a long ways in terms of relating to these guys. So I tell people it's a sneaker ministry.
That's true. You do have some pretty good sneaker game. I think a lot of us have noticed on Sundays that we wish we could have your same shoe closet. But I am also curious, just how do you, with these guys who, granted, they have a lot of influence in culture, how do you influence the culture that they're living in, or how do you influence them and their lives?
And sometimes hanging out with somebody in another lifestyle or a culture, sometimes we assume we have to agree with everything that somebody believes to understand them. And that's not true. There's things that they'll say and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I believe in that, but I work really hard to show that I understand like what they're thinking and what they're going through. And so I'm really empathetic and sympathetic and like, wow, yeah, that must be hard. Wow. Even if I don't believe or agree with everything, I'm like, wow, I understand that. I can see your perspective on that. And I think when they see that posture of a genuine caring question, how can I pray for you? the ability to sit and just, understand and support what their struggle is, then there's trust that's built in that. And I keep that between us. It stays locked in the vault. And over time, you do that enough, you begin to have influence. And then they're really wanting to know what you think about something. Mike, what do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think I should do? What's your advice? What's your perspective? And then I've earned that ability to be able to say, well, hey, it's not even what I necessarily think, but I always bring it back to like, hey, this is what God's word says. Okay, so when Kobe Bryant dies, I'll never forget this. Kobe Bryant dies tragically in a helicopter crash. And there was all kinds of great words and sentiments that all the like LeBron James and other leaders were saying that were really noble, respectful, admirable about Kobe. But beneath the surface, all the players were trying to figure out, because it hit them so close to home, and it shocked them, and it really made them go like, oh my gosh, I'm not in control of life. Like I could lose my life. What happens if I'm on a plane crash? Or what if all of a sudden they were getting panicked and fearful? And so behind the scenes, I'll never forget the first chapel we did right after Kobe's death. All these players were having questions about like life and death, what happens next, and what do I do with fear about dying? And so I was able to talk about those things like, hey, the Bible says that when we put our faith in Jesus, we don't have to fear death, that we get to spend eternity in heaven with Christ. And so we can look forward to that. We don't have to worry about that.
That is so cool. I just feel like that story in particular can really connect even to us, because I think those are some really similar questions that we even ask ourselves all the time. As we finish up, I am just so impressed. Like, it sounds like you love this extra thing that you get to do, and just the influence that you get to have on these players. And I'm curious, maybe what have you seen? Like, what growth or what changes have you seen just to show the influence that Jesus has had on these guys' lives?
When you build trust with a few key players and they come to you asking for questions and guidance, they go tell their friends. The next thing you know, we have family members. This last few years, we have family members coming into the locker room for chapel now because players want to invite them in, which is super cool, because if you're influencing and impacting them, answering questions that are hard, they're inviting they're people they influence and they have a relationship with to come in, and they want to hear from you as well. And so in a sense, my influence grows because of the impact I've had on them, like a ripple effect. So I think that's the best way I could answer those questions. And thanks so much for having me. I've loved this time, and you guys are awesome. And what a cool way to be able to be in this conversation together. Love the conversation you guys are having about engaging with pop culture and what does that look like for all of us. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate you coming on here. And I also just want to let everybody know that I am shooting Mike a couple of additional questions, and we're going to have an extended conversation, and we're going to post that on our YouTube. So if you're wanting to hear some more stories or some more ideas from Mike on how he has been able to influence not just the Blazer culture, but even growing up throughout his life, we would love to have you go check that out on our YouTube channel. I love how Mike talks about the differences between being a friend and being a fan, right? Because a fan just cheers on and thinks everything that the other person does is great and awesome. But a friend is able to call things out and even push someone to be better than they are. And I think that is exactly what Jesus was wanting for us to do. And also what he set an example for us, right? I want to read this story from Mark chapter 2. And I'm reading this from the Message if you guys want to follow along. So Mark chapter 2, verses 13 through 17 says, "Then Jesus went again to walk alongside the lake. Again a crowd came to him, and he taught them. Strolling along, he saw Levi at his work collecting taxes. And Jesus said to Levi, 'Come along with me.' And Levi came. Later, Jesus and his disciples were at home having supper with a collection of disreputable guests. Unlikely as it seems, more than a few of them had become followers of Jesus. The religious scholars and the Pharisees saw him keeping this kind of company and lit into his disciples, saying, 'What kind of example is this, acting cozy with the riffraff?' Jesus, overhearing, shot back, 'Who needs a doctor, the healthy or the sick? I am here inviting the sick, not the healthy.'" And so in that story, right, Jesus, not only did he call Levi, who was a tax collector, super looked down upon by the religious people of the time as being sinful, but Jesus called Levi and said, I see you, I want to know you, I want you to know me, and I want us to make a difference together. And I just love that. I love that Jesus isn't afraid to go step into culture, but call it out and like push it, raise it up so that it is existing in a better, more kingdom of heaven-like realm, right? Because like I said earlier, that is our biggest job as Christians, is to bring the kingdom of heaven to earth. That is what we were designed to do. We weren't designed to start our own little section where we don't ever engage with culture, right? It's important for Christians to know what's going on, and not just to have fun on Instagram learning about the latest makeup trends or what's going on in sports, but to actually engage and influence the culture so that we can bring Christ into the center of what the world sees as well. I want to leave us with this last verse. This is John 1:14, and it says, "The Word, Jesus, became flesh and moved into the neighborhood." And I think this is such a beautiful picture of what we are called to do as well. We are called to still be seeking after Jesus with all of our hearts, be living from our center of faith that we learn from scriptures and prayer and community with others, right? But we are also called to move into the neighborhood. When you move into the neighborhood or the culture, you automatically are going to influence it just by being who Jesus created you to be. He's created you to be strong, to be loving, inviting, all of those things, and that in and of itself can influence culture. I'm really excited for the next few weeks as we talk more and more about different ways that we can influence culture and just engage with each other as Christians and engage with the world. We next week are going to be hearing from Dylan, and we're going to be talking about how community is so important if we're really going to influence culture. I want you guys to all turn to your group for this one last question, and it is this: what is one idea that you have that you could influence culture this week? See you guys later.